Good morning. Good morning. Let's get right into it. It's another Coffee with the Cowbell. I am your host, Ricardo Wilkins, resident Teams Geek. And today we will continue in the last part of the series on the basics of Teams. We talked about chat basics, files basics, and now we'll talk about settings basics. Tried to find a few topics that I thought were good if you are new to Teams or still trying to wrap your head around it and you needed to learn a few specific things. To me, these were the top three that'll kind of get you going with collaboration. If you missed the other two, aka.ms/coffee for Teams. And as always, let's see, where's my logos? Okay. As always, we are streaming on all the recordings you can find on all these, your favorite platform. All right. So let's dive right in and let's talk a little bit about settings in Teams. So it's a couple flavors. So two flavors I'll talk about this. One is the obvious one, which is what should I set up here in settings. So you see it's the three dots next to our name and profile pick, three dot settings. We'll dive into that. But it's also what settings do I kind of need out here. And by that, I'm mainly referring to notification settings in our different channels. So we'll talk about that because I think that managing the potential noise of Teams is important to make sure that you are happy with Teams. So let's talk about those two things. So first off, let's go up to settings, and take a look at a few things. I'm not gonna go through everything here. I'm try to call out the basic stuff that I think is kind of more crucial to make sure you set. First thing I'll call out, and this is usually set by default, but the auto start. I call that out just because if you are, if Teams is your platform of choice in your org, you're trying to use it more, you're trying to balance Teams and Outlook, it's going to help to auto start. When you start your PC, I've seen that be a challenge for folks when they haven't gotten to the mode of opening up Teams manually. They, if they're brand new to Teams, they forget it's there. They're back into Outlook. But if it auto starts, it'll be there and right in your face, and that'll help. Okay, that's all I want to talk about on that one is just the auto start. Nothing much in the accounts and privacy from a basics perspective. We'll come back to notifications. If you are trying to figure out how to get your microphone and headphones and all that working, devices would be one place you start. When you're starting a meeting, you probably have seen that there's a spot there to pick your devices, but this is one to kind of set it overall. So that's right here in devices, audio, speaker, microphone. These other defaults should be fine, but in general, noise suppression, making sure Teams is trying to filter out other noise. I think you can test your camera. I don't have a camera in this demo environment, but if you use it here or select it here, I think you get a little preview to test it out, make sure it's working. So there's devices. Skip app permissions. These can be, useful as well. I think I'll skip all of the downloads. Where will your downloads go could be useful. And then here, so a couple things about the calls. If you do use calling in Teams, a couple things useful about this. One is if you have trouble answering your calls quickly, you may want to set this a little higher, this is the amount of time that it rings, or a little low. I don't know if you what, or lower, whatever your preference is. The other one I was just going to call out here is that you don't have to settle for the standard ringtone that it uses. You can see there's a long list, including the brand new one, the remix. Again, I can't show you with this different environment. One day I'll have to put audio on this thing, but if you haven't tried that out, try that one out and have a little dance break in the morning. All right. All that being said, that's settings in general. Well, let's go back to notifications, which from a Teams usage perspective, basics, this is the big one. So you are new to Teams, but you're not in there all the time, and you're missing activity, as this says. This will send you an email to say things like someone's trying to reach you in Teams, talk about different mentions that people are making throughout the teams that you're in. So to me, this is important. It's important for a couple different people, I guess. If you are one who does not like email notifications from anything, you might want to come in here and turn this off entirely. I don't recommend it, but maybe that's because I'm a Teams fanatic. But this is basically saying if I got Teams off, I don't want to know anything about what I'm missing, right? But these other ones, basically based on your, what your needs are, right? You might just want a daily digest of what happened. I have mine set to here I have it set to every hour. I probably have it set. I don't know what I have it set to in the real world. I do know when I'm in other tenants, I set this to as soon as possible. By other tenants, that means if you've ever been invited to someone else's instance of Teams, then you are in another tenant. We haven't talked about that in the basics, but it would end up being a drop down on your profile pic. When I am a guest in another team, I would do as soon as possible. Basically, I want an email that lets me know somebody just pinged me in that other tenant, because otherwise I don't get a notification that that's happening. So that I put that as soon as possible, so it lets me know to go over there and see what's going on. That could be challenging though if that other tenant is super busy, but in my case, usually it's not. Okay. We'll scroll down. I'm kind of jumping around here. Let's just keep going from the top. So teams and channels. What kind of notifications do we want to get? As a new Teams person, I could suggest all activity, because if you're new and your team is new to Teams, you're probably not, chatting it up real big. And so all activity in the beginning could be very helpful. Just tell me, what's going on with everything. Then you could go down to just tell me when I am mentioned, or when people reply to messages, as this points out, replies to my messages. So this is basically saying, tell me when people are trying to interact with me specifically. And then custom, you can see there's some options in here. So banner and feed, what does that mean? Banner is the pop-up that Teams will give you for the message. Feed is, if you remember, actually, let me just go out. Feed is the activity feed here. So basically, if you say banner and feed, you're saying give me pop-ups and give me, and put it in my feed as well. Okay, and all right, but we could also choose to not get the pop-up and just have it fill in the feed, almost like just an inbox. So those are our two choices there. That's for personal mentions. Personal at mentions, that means someone has hit the at symbol and has typed my name. They specifically calling me out for that post. They want me to see that, almost like they're directly sending me an email. So you do definitely, if nothing else, you want those. Someone's trying to specifically reach you. Versus team mentions, someone is using the at symbol and then putting the name of the team. That's more of a broad blast notification. So if you want those, you have those options there or off. And then reply to conversations I started versus replies to conversations I replied to. Could be a different thing here. I could have joined some chatty conversation, and I might want to turn this off because I don't necessarily want all the replies to some conversation of someone else's that I joined. But if I started it, I would think I'd be more likely to be interested in who's replying. So I'd like the way they broke those two choices out. So reply to conversations that I started versus one that I just kind of joined or replied to. And then likes and reactions if I want notifications of that. All right. And then shown in pinned channels. What does that mean? A pinned channel. Let's go to it. If I'm in a team and I'm in a channel in the post area here, someone can come here and pin a message. I wouldn't call this basics, but since the setting was there. So when it's pinned, if I hit the little I here for this channel, that's a quick way of seeing what the channel's about, who the members are, and if I, where are my, I could pin the channel. Where is the pin? There it is. It took a minute. So that's the people in there, and then the pinned posts. So this is nice when there's, this channel has a lot of stuff in it, but that particular post is really important to us as a team. So it makes it easy to get to that. And having said all of that, then this, where was I? So notify me every time there is a new post in this channel. And I'm sorry. So this is pinned channels. I just showed you pinned posts, but a pinned channel, similar concept. You saw I went 3 dots up here. I hope I'm not going too fast. I hit pin, and that for me has pinned this channel into my pinned channels area. For me, this one is a pinned post for the whole team. This is a pinned channel for me. So of all my teams and channels, the one that I, maybe like to go to the most, I pinned. In my real world, I think I got maybe 4 pinned channels because I just go to them so much. So I'm sorry about that confusion. So if we go back here to notifications, that's why this is called out, to say that for the channels that you have shown versus hidden. We haven't talked about that in this basic series, but you can show and hide channels for the ones you've shown and the ones you've pinned. What notifications do you want? So again, they're calling this out because if you didn't hide the channel and or you pinned the channel, it must be important. So what kind of notifications do you want from it? So all new posts, in this case, I have off. But you could say all new posts in those channels, give me the banner and feed and so forth. When you do select something, I also like this checkbox. So give me a notification about all the new posts, but don't tell me about all the replies from it. So Deborah put a new post out. I want to know that a new conversation has started, but I don't need all of the chatter of everybody about that post. I'll check that out on my own. Versus, I want to know that Deborah put a new post and all the replies that they did. I want to get notifications of those too. And then a similar concept for channel mentions, at @ symbol and then the name of the channel. Okay. So these are your top level kind of teams and channel settings. We have a similar concept for chat when people mention me, messages, likes, and reactions, right? In the meetings and calls area, you have some options here. It's really just about your personal preference. Okay. You can set these things. It doesn't have to just be set here. You'll see in a sec, we can set them elsewhere. And I guess I'll talk about the last one here is who do I want a pop-up for when they get online? Like maybe I'm waiting to talk to my manager. So I'll put my manager in here, and as soon as he comes online or goes green or whatever, then I'll know, and then I can start a chat up. Okay, so those are the notification settings in settings. But for those same things, we still have a little more granular control here. So for instance, I've set all of those things. But let's say for the car specs channel, I might want some more granularity. 3 dots next to the channel. You can see that there's channel notifications here. And I have some similar options for the notifications that takes forever to load, I guess. There we go. So I see that all new posts plus the reply. So similar thing we just saw, but this is specific to that channel. So what this implies is that I could, in the settings area, I could set a very broad set of, hey, don't tell me anything about anything. But in this channel, though, tell me everything about everything, right? So I could tell teams, be quiet about most of the stuff that I'm in. But in this one, the car specs, that's my life. I want you to give me everything in that channel. So I do like that, because you could be in 30 teams, but you know which ones are important to you for the day, even if not for always. So that's per channel. Same with let me see here. So per channel, and this is the same thing here. Per channel, yep. So those are notifications for that. When if we come over to chat, the only reason I'm coming here is just to talk about those meeting options that we saw about muting notifications, just to show you that if I right click on the meeting, I can still, regardless of what I set in the settings area for this particular meeting, I can still mute notifications on that. Also during the meeting, when the meeting window's up, there's some mute settings. So there's always plenty of places to fiddle with notifications throughout teams. Okay, and these are just key settings because especially when you're new to teams, depending on the teams you're in and how chatty they are, I've heard that from customers about just so much noise, right? But hopefully it shows you it doesn't have to be a lot of noise. If it's a lot of noise, it's because you probably haven't really tweaked any notifications. The default is, teams tell me everything, but we can tell teams, don't tell me anything, or don't tell me most things, but tell me always about these specific things. So hopefully that's what you saw there, the ability to tweak all of that, to fine tune teams to talk to you the way you want to be talked to. And that's just a key piece for your happiness while you're collaborating in teams. Okay, so thought those would be useful as basic settings. Hope the last 3 sessions on basics have been good for you. I'm always available if you got additional questions, or hit me up in chat, or whatever platform you may be joining. But go ahead and finish your coffee, get your day started. I hope you have a great one. This has been Coffee with the Cowbell.